That feels like it's scraping the bottom of the TV barrel, to be a judge on the Celebrity MasterChef or the Australian MasterChef. I mean, I find it distasteful in the extreme.
So Meghan and Harry just wrapped up what they're calling a quasi-royal tour of Australia, mixing charity visits with paid TV appearances. The optics are terrible, conducting royal-style engagements while simultaneously cashing in on reality television. This perfectly captures why their brand strategy keeps backfiring.
Then she's appearing on Australian MasterChef. Well, presumably she's getting a stocking great fee for that program, which I know about.
This timing is particularly tone deaf. While she's filming cooking shows for money, Australians just witnessed actual royal service when William and Catherine visited Bondi Beach after the terror attack. The contrast between genuine duty and commercial opportunism couldn't be starker.
And speaking to Australian friends of mine, as you know, they are, in the main, appalled by what's going on. I don't know what the crowds were like in Melbourne when they turned up at the hospital, but, yesterday yesterday, she wasn't seen because she was recording this TV program. It's tacky, and that is my big takeaway from it.
The hospital visit becomes meaningless when it's sandwiched between paid media appearances. Real royal work requires sacrifice, showing up when it's inconvenient, not profitable. Skipping charitable duties to film television destroys any credibility they had left as serious public figures.
That hospital visit. Now, it's not supposed to be a royal tour. So did they pay to go there? Have they made some charitable donation to the Melbourne hospital? Have they done something to the homeless, which is definitely trying to rain on William's parade with homelessness? The whole thing is tawdry, in my view, in the way they're saying it's not a royal tour, but goodness me, does it look like a royal tour in all but name.
They're exploiting the homelessness issue to compete directly with William's Homewards initiative, which has secured millions in funding and created measurable impact. Meanwhile, they show up for photo ops, then disappear to collect TV paychecks. It's performative activism at its worst.
There he is today, wearing his medals, honouring the Australian war dead, and obviously the Invictus element of what he's doing, which I get. But then she's appearing on Australian MasterChef. Well, presumably she's getting a stocking great fee for that program, which I know about. But I mean, let's be honest, that feels like it's scraping the bottom of the TV barrel, to be a judge on the Celebrity MasterChef or the Australian MasterChef. I mean, I find it distasteful in the extreme.
The military ceremony honouring war dead represents everything he once did well. Genuine service connecting with veterans. But that credibility evaporates when his wife's simultaneously judging celebrity cooking competitions for cash. One honours sacrifice, the other chases fame.
I know how it works. Because a friend of mine used to present the original program. And obviously MasterChef in this country has had a few hiccups along the way, with one or two presenters being given the tin tack, as they say, for controversial bits in their private life. But, the food will turn up probably cold, and you'll have to sort of imagine that it's good. And the whole thing is, look, she wouldn't know a good meal if it hit her between the face. So, I mean, I think why they've done it. They've given her a socking great big fee, and they will fawn all over her. And, because obviously that's the nature of the program. And that's just what she wants. She wants people fawning at her feet, and here she can fawn. But my goodness me, I wouldn't take any notice of her ability as a culinary judge.
No, not at all.
Sorry.
Her qualifications as a food judge are non-existent. She's never worked in hospitality, doesn't have culinary training, and famously struggled with basic cooking on her lifestyle blog. This is purely about celebrity and payment, not expertise. Reality TV producers know desperate talent when they see it.
I mean, he's even had a pop at his father's parenting skills as well today. So yet again, he's sort of saying, well, I'm not really having a go at my father. I'm just talking, we have to learn as a parent from our parents. Well, if that's not a jibe criticizing his father, which will be deeply hurtful to him, particularly as he continues. He's got a major event in planning in next week when he's got to, I don't know, to go to America with all that's going on and represent this country. The last thing he needs to be having is his son questioning or sort of suggesting that he wasn't brought up in the best circumstances.
Charles is battling cancer while preparing for his upcoming state visits, and his son chooses this moment to publicly question his parenting. The King's trying to maintain Britain's international relationships while dealing with family betrayal broadcast globally. The timing is calculated cruelty.
I mean, if I was the king, I'd probably be losing my temper and saying, off with their titles.
If Rupert was king.
Yeah, if I was king, it would be off with their titles, because I just think, so they can stop them. But maybe that would just be a step too far for the king, who does have, sort of a sympathetic, much more sympathetic side than perhaps I do have, and understand. Look,
Charles faces an impossible choice. Strip the titles and look vindictive, or keep enabling their commercial exploitation of the monarchy. Polling shows 63% of Britons want their titles removed. But he's still their father. They're weaponizing his parental love against the institution.
And he's got a wayward son who just seems to endlessly want to snoop at the institution. Yet there he is, going around behaving as if he's part of the institution. And I think that's what's so frustrating for all and sundry. You don't want to be in it, but your only raison d'etre is to behave like you are still a member of the royal family. You can't have your cake and eat it. And unfortunately, he is getting away with it to some extent, because that's what he's gone and done in Australia. He's monetized the trip, and he's done the things that he used to be very good at, turning up at a hospital, doing the Invictus. He was good at it. But now he's made his bed. He shouldn't be allowed to lie in this particular bed in Australia.
They've created the ultimate grift. Maintain royal titles and connections for commercial value while avoiding any actual responsibility. Their brand depends entirely on royal association, yet they constantly attack the institution. Australia proves they can monetize anything with enough audacity.
I'm not surprised that she did it, really.
Oh.
I think right? I mean, Hugo will agree with me, because she did like a laugh.
Yeah.
And if she was in private company, why not? Like we all do. We probably all sort of cock a snook at someone and maybe have a sort of slight joke. And she was no exception. I don't think. I mean, I know, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure she got on very well with Ronald Reagan. He was a charmer. In a sort of old school kind of way, and she would have loved being around. I mean, Hugo, you probably know more about that than I do, but I mean, I'm pretty sure with Melania, I'm not sure that as individuals, the Queen and Melania seem to have, poles apart in terms of the sort of whole approach to it, and that sort of glassy look was Melania's sort of style in her when she was First Lady for the first time, wasn't it? Just to look as if there's nothing behind. So I can immediately see that she perhaps would. But Hugo, I mean, you had many dealings with the Queen. I'm sure she loved a giggle, if I'm not mistaken. And presumably you saw a bit of that, and her doing this doesn't seem too left field at all, does it?
The Queen spent 70 years mastering diplomatic relationships, never letting personal opinions compromise Britain's interests. She understood that real royal work means putting duty above personal feelings. Compare that to reality TV appearances for cash. The contrast speaks volumes about character.
She accused me to my brother once of being a drunk, because I fell over at Ascot and got a black eye, and I used to present the in-house TV, and the rumour was that she turned round and said, what's the brother of my trainer been doing? Has he been drinking? So, I mean, I can imagine her. She would love, well, I can assure the late Her Majesty that I hadn't been drinking. But the point is, she loved a joke. And she didn't like pomposity. And I think that's, in a way, her having a pop at saying things about Nancy Reagan, doesn't feel what she thought of her prime ministers. God only knows. I wonder whether we'll ever hear what. Well, she wasn't. Poor old Liz Truss, I think, only had 2 days. But Boris Johnson, I'm sure she had a view.
Her Majesty balanced warmth with dignity, humour with responsibility. She could share a laugh while never forgetting her role representing Britain. Today's royal-adjacent celebrity culture completely abandons that standard. It's all performance, no substance, and certainly no genuine service.
Well, I think Prince Philip is just always was a no-fuss kind of guy, and he didn't want people, from day one, it was no, I don't want people fawning all over me. He knew he was, he had the common sense to realize, look, I'm in my 90s. It's what happens. We get ill. That would have been his sort of perfectly dogmatic approach to it. Yes, I lived to whatever age it was in the end, but he wouldn't want people. And that's why he stepped back just to enjoy or try and ease into, what ultimately, sadly, was his death. But, it was bound to happen. And he didn't want people at all stages. He didn't want people. He couldn't suffer fools. And that was his overriding sort of mantra throughout life.
Prince Philip exemplified service without ego. He understood his role was supporting the monarchy, not promoting himself. He stepped back gracefully when age required it. The current generation treats royal status as personal branding opportunity rather than public duty.
When you look at the sort of similarities now, when you see the Sussexes, it's a sort of brazen attempt at hankering after their times in the royal family. Yet, I just wonder, and I was thinking about it, and I want Hugo's take on it. The fact is, he had to give up being king for marrying her. And when you think how world has moved on, that you now have a king who is divorced, married a divorcee, yet, okay, it was a bit of there was a discussion, but everything more or less carried on seamlessly. Yet, as a result of the Edward VIII, then wanting to marry a divorcee and an American to boot, it led to him having to abdicate. It shows how the world or the royal monarchy has evolved now that people are much more understanding. Because, when you read books about the abdication crisis, the country seems to have come to a grinding halt when it happened. So
Edward VIII at least had the honesty to abdicate completely when choosing love over duty. These two want Edward's freedom with none of his consequences, keeping titles, trading on royal status while attacking the institution. It's more dishonest than the original abdication crisis.
When he was Prince of Wales, everyone loved him, wasn't he? Because he was a dashing debonair, really of the time, the sort of the jazz age. He absolutely fitted that model. But actually, to get promoted to the sort of top job, and then that being king was a very different, almost feels very different than it is now. So it is actually, he created great loyalty, but he maybe just didn't have that something that gave him that, right, he didn't want to put country ahead of love in this case, which clearly was a love affair in the end.
Edward chose love over crown and accepted the consequences. Exile and irrelevance. At least that was honest. They want the romance narrative without sacrifice, the royal prestige without responsibility. Real duty means choosing service over self-interest, something they've never understood.